I'm going to read how Nivi got her names. Introduction. Many Inuit are born with a multitude of names, as opposed to the more common Western way of naming with a first name, middle name, and last name. I myself have 5 names, each of which is a name of a person whom my parents cherished and respected. Through my names, I am a reincarnation of mothers, grandmothers, grandfathers, and beloved friends, most of whom have passed away. Through these names, I have a wide array of loved ones connected not only by blood, but by spirit. For most, traditional naming is a way to keep a strong name from being lost and to keep the spirit of our ancestors alive. Children named after important elders uh, are spoken to with respect and are treated in a way that the elder once was. Sometimes an elder will go to a pregnant woman and ask her to name her child after them. When a pregnant woman has a dream about an elder that has passed away, it is believed that the elder is asking for her children to be named after them. There are many stories of children taking on the characteristics or qualities of those they are named after. At times, children grow up telling of their past lives, even though they were never told these stories of another person. There are other stories of children picking up objects that once belonged to their namesakes and saying, "This belongs to me." These could just be coincidences, but with Inuit mythology and the passing of knowledge through word of mouth over thousands of years, this seems unlikely. An Inuit custom adoption is an adoption in which a pregnant woman provides her child to someone who needs a child. It could be a family member or another member of the community. In these adoptions, children grow up knowing who their biological family is and who their adoptive family is. Children can be adopted to their grandparents and refer to their biological parent as a brother or sister, but they can also call each member of the family by their biological terms, as the child knows throughout their life how each person is connected. This has been practiced for thousands of years. Traditionally, it ensured that when a couple could not have children, they would be provided one. And this would mean they could grow old and that the child would take care of them in their old age, in appreciation for being taken care of as a child. Through a custom adoption, Niviak became part of a family that includes her 2 adoptive mothers, Jessie, her uh, Inanna, and Laura, her mom, her biological mother, me, and her biological father, David Niviak, is part of the families of her 2 adoptive mothers. She is part of my family, and she is part of her biological father's family. Niviak has 4 sets of grandparents who adore her and countless aunts, uncles, and cousins. Through her names, Niviak is a little girl, a grandfather, a grandmother, and a well respected elder of all these families. And she's probably the cutest little girl in the whole universe. Aviak Johnston. It was a beautiful but chilly spring morning, and instead of heading out into the cold, Nivi and her mom decided to play outside. Nivi gave her mom the very best toy snowman and said, "You will be this one." "What is its name, Mom?" Nivi's mom looked at the toy and replied, "This one's name is Icky. I can be, this one." she said, and she handed Nivi a cute little stuffed pig. She said she is named Kalak. Nivi took Kalak from her mom's hand and made her hop around playfully, teasing Iki, you'll never catch me. I'm cute. I'm Kalak. Nivi called as she played. Then she stopped playing for a moment and thought to herself, my name is Niviak, she said, pronouncing the k just as she had been taught to. But that's not my only name. My toys only have one name, but I have lots of names. I am Niviak, Kauki, Baabi, Ermela, Jamisi. Those are my names. Evie stood up straight, proud to have recited all of her names perfectly. Why do I have so many names? Evie asked her mom. Evie's mom smiled. When you were born, we knew we were going to name you uh, Niviak. We chose it as a special name we would call you because we knew we were adopting a little girl. Your name, Niviak, means little girl. There were lots of important people in our lives who meant a lot to our family, Mom added. And you are named after some of those very special people. Evie sat next to her mother, very interested. In Inuit culture, people get their names from many different places, and some people, like you, have many names to be proud of. People are often named after family members and loved ones who are no longer with us. Babies, like you, are given the names of people who are no longer around so that their spirit and character can carry on in a new person. That is how traditional Inuit naming works, said Nevi's mom. But who am I named after? Nivi asked. Let me try to explain. Because you were adopted from another family, you were given the name Kauki. Kauki was a special woman, the grandmother of your Pukuluk, your birth mother. Kauki is no longer with us, but on the day you were born, when she first saw you, your birth mother was happily reminded of her dear grandmother, and so it made sense for us to call you Kauki, to honor her life and connect you in a special way to your biological family. Nivi was very pleased to hear about Kauki, but she was excited to hear more. What about Baapi? Nivi asked. Baapi was an intelligent and kind soul, Nivi's mother said with a smile, a man full of integrity and character and a special family friend. He appeared to me one night in a dream your Anana had. When she woke, she told Baapi's youngest daughter about her dream and asked if we could name our new baby after him once you arrived. Bobby's spirit and character live on through your name. So his family, his wife, and children are connected to you because you are named after him. Bobby's sweet youngest daughter, whom you call Tissy, is your Panilak, Tissy's mother, your Nuliarsiak Suak, Bobby's dear wife. Nivi was really enjoying hearing about the special meaning of her names. Am I named after anyone else? Nivi asked. Yes, Panik. You were named after your grandmother Irma. Or maybe it's Panik. I'm not quite sure. Yes, Panik. You were named after your grandmother Irma, a resourceful and talented woman with great strength and creativity. She was a caretaker, my father's mother, and my loving gram. Nivi's mother paused and fixed Nivi's hair. We named you Ermila after her, so we could remember her too. All of the people sounded so wonderful, Nivi thought. She would have liked all of them very much. And what about Jamisi or Jamesy? Said Nivi. Jamesy was your Anana's grandpa, Nivi's mom replied. Nivi was listening very closely to her mother's words. Tell me more about him, Mom, Nivi asked quietly. She looked at her mom with excitement and pride in her eyes. He was a very special person to your Anana, her favorite person. Nivi's mom paused and kissed Nivi on the forehead. Until you were born, she told Nivi with a wink. He was a generous man, traditional and very patient. Your Anana looked up to him very much and loved him very dearly, she said. Nivi's mom paused and then she looked right at Nivi and said, We all love you, dear Nivi, for all that you are, for the names that you have, for the character and traits we see in you, and the people we are reminded of when we are with you. Our hearts are filled with love, my Panik. All of the people who love you and those who are connected to you through your names, me and your Anana, your Puukuluk, your grandma, your Panila, your dear Nur, Nuliar Suak, your sons and daughters and grandchildren by your namesakes. We are all very proud of you and love you very, very much for many different reasons. Your names have brought us all together as a family because of the love we share for you. Nivi looked at her mom and gave her a big grin. My names are very special, right, Mom? Nivi asked. Your names are very special, and you are very special, my girl. They shared a big, big hug and a canoe. You know what, Mom? I am proud of all of my names. Niviak, Kauki, Baavi, Ermela, Jamesy, Nivi said, very pleased. Nivi and her mom played all morning until it was time for lunch. They sat together to eat kuak and macaroni and cheese in the warm afternoon sunshine. It was a beautiful spring day. About Inuit kinship and naming customs. Traditionally, Inuit referred to one another using a system of kinship and family terms known as tuklur asit. Tuklur asit. Inuit kinship naming fosters respect and closeness within families. In Inuit culture, when a person dies, it is believed that their name or their name soul leaves the body and remains homeless until it is called back to take life again in the body of a newborn child. That child becomes known as an Atsiak, or one who was called after. Traditionally, children were named after their elders or ancestors to ensure a long and healthy life. A person's identity is closely associated with their name, and for that reason, identities carry on when a new baby takes on a person's name. It is a common belief that a person's personality and character can be passed on from the dead to the living, and there is a sense that people are not naming a new person, but welcoming back a family member, a loved one, or a respected community member. When the names are shared and passed along in this way, personal relationships and special connections continue on too. Traditional naming practices can connect many people and can strengthen community bonds. In recent years, referring to one another by English names as opposed to traditional kinship terms has become more common, and the tradition of Tukler Asit is slowly fading away. It is important to keep this tradition alive for future generations. Sharing stories of kinship, naming gives children the opportunity to understand important aspects of Inuit culture, to learn about the identities of those they are named after, and to discover the relationships that connect them to different generations. Uh, and these are Nivi's namesakes. Kauki. Lizzie Kauki was the strength of her family and home. She did not know her own power. She enjoyed hunting, but relied on her guardian to hunt for her while she stayed behind and worked to clothe and feed the family. Kauki was an expert seamstress and always put her needles aside to help others and provide for her children. She did not want girls to be named after her for fear that they would go through the same hardships she did as a girl because she was female. Out of respect for her wishes, Nivi was given Lizzie's last name, Kauki, instead of her female first name, because her family wanted to celebrate her strength and see that her name was passed on to other strong women. Baabi, Robert G. Baabi Williamson, who was born in England, was an anthropologist, Inuit advocate, and professor. He learned in Inuktitut when living in Pangnirtung, Nuavut, in 1950s and brought his first Inuktitut language journal to the territory. He received numerous awards and honors throughout his career, including the Order of Canada in 1986. He was married to Greenlandic scholar Dr. Carla Jessen Williamson, with whom he had two children, but Abi also had four children from a previous marriage. Jamesy. Jamesy Mike was born in Sarbargua near Pangnirtung. Sorry, it's hard for me to pronounce some of these words. And he was 84 years old when he died. He had 12 children, over 60 grandchildren, and many great grandchildren. He was a strong and resilient man, and a man of many talents. He was a hunter, a carver, and an engineer, and he kept a journal for decades recording and observing the weather. He was a sharer of knowledge and a loving and generous Ituk grandfather. Because Nivi is named after him, she is an Atata father, an Ituk, and Amok grandmother, and many people who love her because they are deeply connected to her through Jamesy's name. Irma. Irma Fraser was born in a small farming community in rural Nova Scotia. She married and had four children. When her children were still young, she became a widow and opened up her home for boarders and transient workers passing through her community. As a single mom, she was a caregiver to many, a community volunteer, and was and a very hard worker. Irma used her talents in arts and crafts to make ends meet and is remembered for her creativity and ingenuity. And here is a glossary of all of the words. Oh, here it is. The am amok anana. Atata is father. Atsiak, one who was called after. Iki, a name meaning it's cold. Etuk, grandfather. Kalak, it means chubby. Kunik, a kiss. Uh, Niviak, that is, mean a little girl in Greenlandic. Noli Arsuak, big or great wife of Greenlandic origin. Daughter, Panik. Panilak, youngest daughter. Pukuluk, biological mother. Kowak, frozen, raw frozen meat or fish. Tuklu Ra O Sit, Inuit kinship naming. All right, and about the author, Laura Dean was born and raised in a small farming town in Nova Scotia. As a young adult, uh, drawn to adventure, she climbed aboard an airplane for the first time ever and moved to uh, Iqaluit, Nanuvat. Laura immediately found appreciation for the culture and beauty of the land and the simplicity of northern life. Since 2005, she has rooted herself in the Canadian Arctic and started a family. Uh, Niviak is her 3-year-old granddaughter or 3-year-old daughter who was adopted through Inuit custom adoption. A first-time author, Laura wrote the story for her daughter and dedicated it to her family and her extended family as she has come to know through traditional custom adoption and kinship naming practices. Charlene Chua worked as a web designer, senior graphic designer, web producer, and interactive project manager before she decided to pursue illustration as a career. Her work has appeared in American Illustration, Spectrum, and Sila's Illustration West, as well as several art books. She illustrated the children's books Julie Black Belt, The Kung Fu Chronicles, and Julie Black Belt, The Belt on Fire, Fishing with Grandma, and Leah's Mustache Party. She lives in Toronto. Acknowledgements. I wanted to write this book about kinship and extended families for many reasons. First, to show kids that families are defined by love and connection, each family being different in size and composition. Second, to help children learn about kinship connections and cultural naming practices so they are aware of this aspect in their culture and understand who they are and what makes them special. Perhaps it's important for me perhaps most importantly for me, I want my daughter and other children to have strong sense of identity and to understand they are loved, respected, and supported by their families and communities. I hope this story will help kids to understand their naming or their names and learn about identity, culture, and pride. I would like to thank my northern family members whom I have come to know through kinship naming and custom adoption. In particular, Aviak Johnson and the Johnson family. La- Kuluk Williamson Bathory and family. Carla Jensen Williamson and Nivi's Anana Jesse. Thank you all for showing me what it is like to be accepted into a new culture. And how wonderful it is to be part of such a beautiful and unique extended family. Laura Dean. All righties. Yay! Thank you, friends, for joining us to hear this story.